Alyssa Orange is the host of the Varsity Vibe podcast, which you can download anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also get a look online at varsityvibearkansas.com. You can also register for the newsletter there of Varsity Vibe, now with high school football in full swing. Alyssa, how are you today? Are you thinking high school football, high school sports, or are you thinking what we have been thinking about the last 3 days?
Sure. A little bit of both, right? Obviously, high school football, really exciting right now, jumping into conference play. But what is happening on the Hill with the departure of Sam Pittman, in comes Petrino, out goes the defensive staff. It is quite a time to be covering Arkansas as well right now, too.
Well, and I guess I'd wonder, on the beat that you have now, too, is what the response would be on high school campuses across Arkansas on high school football fields, because, this, I don't know if you say it affects them, but certainly, what happens at the University of Arkansas, it means a lot across the state, and it means a lot across high school football too. So, is that the kind of thing that you might, work into the podcast or the coverage now of high school football?
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations, not even intentionally. I was talking to a coach from Central Arkansas yesterday, and, he was like, man, I'd really like to start winning here. Arkansas's not doing so great, so it'd be great to be able to bring some fans some wins. And, even down there, what is happening with the Razorbacks affects everybody, right? And then you also look at recruiting and the fact that everyone knows if a coach gets fired, things are going to affect recruiting and your recruiting class, your signing class. And so they've already lost commitments to this 2026 recruiting class because of the departure of Sam Pittman. And I think that that is to be expected, right? No one locally in terms of from the state of Arkansas, but you look right now at Bentonville, for example, they've got wide receivers Blair Irwin Jr. and Daquan Prevost, who are committed to this upcoming class. And are they going to stick with that commitment? Are they going to open up their recruitment again? What are these guys going to do? I also think you look around the state and you realize that there are some guys who were either not heavily recruited by Arkansas or they were recruited by Arkansas but have chosen to go somewhere else and play. And that's where it's just like, okay, can you bring in a new coach and a staff that can appeal to these guys who are in state that are right now committed to go somewhere else?
And in terms of, I know you're not a recruiting expert, but you're going to be talking with these kids. This is, it's kind of like frozen is what it feels like. Like the whole class right now would feel it is suspended, and you get to be in a wait and see mode. I'm sure there are kids out there, and I think of a kid like Tay Lockett who moves to Conway in order to get acclimated to his home state, and he knows he's going to be a Razorback. Well, now the coach he committed to is not the coach any longer. So I know everybody's got their own individual stories, but I would just expect that things are just kind of suspended until you know who's going to be leading the program.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really big thing to take in, especially now, right? You were so used to a few years ago waiting till February and having time. So if you did have to fire a coach mid-season or at the end of the season, you had a little bit of time to bring a guy in to put a class together and keep a class you had intact for February. Well, now everyone pretty much signs, in December. So that timeline is shortened. And so you've got to have a good idea, and you have to be very aggressive on what you are going to do with your head coach and your coaching staff so that you can piece together a signing class in December. And I think, it kind of goes back to, once again, with a guy like Tay Lockett, and I am speaking my own opinion. I have not talked to him or anything like that, but you look at his situation. You moved here to Conway to be in Arkansas. I have a feeling you wanted to play for the Razorbacks. And, yeah, I'm sure that Sam Pittman had a big part to do with that. But hopefully it's really you just want to play for a program like Arkansas. And whoever is leading the program doesn't sway your thoughts one way or the other too heavily. But there are a lot of guys who have an opinion. Like, you got to come and you've got to see if you can, flip Kane Archer. I've seen that so much. And with all due respect, Kane is going to play for UCF. That he's not changing his mind. He has got a wonderful, strong relationship with Mackenzie Milton down there, and he's not going to not go to UCF, right? I don't know how much you're going to change some of these guys' minds, but maybe you can come in and keep the guys you have intact.
Okay, Alyssa, what happens at the end of this season, and then you say, okay, Bobby Petrino is going to be the head coach, or when we get to the end of the season, do they rip it off and completely overhaul?
Do you want my opinion or what I think is going to happen?
Either one,
Sure.
Either one, because I don't see 2 more wins, and I think they should just rip it off and start off. But let's say Bobby gets some momentum going or something. Do you? And because I was a little confused. Why didn't they just let this happen at the end of the year? Then you go and what you're talking about recruiting wise is you go get somebody from a Memphis or from a kind of a smaller, but they're a big school, and then they're going to bring. So the different thing is they're going to bring 11 or 12 of their kids with us, with them to kind of help out as well. But I was just going to see what do you think that can we salvage any of this season? I guess.
Ooh, okay. So I think that there is, I think with clearly the way that Bobby was talking yesterday in the press conference with Hunter, this is not a just, lay down and give up. He is very much going to put everything he has into seeing what this team can do the rest of the year. There's a lot of football left to be played. So there is no quit, which is good to hear. I just don't know if that's still the direction come the end of the season that you want to go. And in my opinion, I believe that with where Arkansas is right now, if we want to look long-term, if they want to try to build a plan for the future, you go out there and you get a fresh, young face, an up-and-coming head coach, and bring him in and see if you can build the program the right way. I just don't know if you can go the, end of the career, still want to coach path. Because what happens if Bobby wants to retire in 5 years? I don't know. I really feel like go get someone young, bring in some fresh new energy and some fresh perspective. See if you can go find yourself, an Eli Drinkowitz or Clark Lee or, a PJ Fleck or, go find somebody like that you can bring into your program and not only really jumpstart their career at a Power 4 school, but also really build some momentum and some fresh energy at Arkansas. That's what I think the program needs.
And I wouldn't be too worried. You have a lot of people saying, well, this is a place where coaches go to die. I don't believe so. I think you can come here and win here. You look all across the SEC. There's really not a stepping. Once you get into the SEC and win a little bit, you're not leaving an SEC school to go to another SEC school. Any job in the SEC is a destination job. Yeah,
we've seen it a little bit, right? But those moves made sense. So you had a guy like Dan Mullen leave Mississippi State and go to Florida. Florida had a little bit more resources. He was the quarterback coach there under Urban Meyer. Like, that move made sense. Obviously, it didn't work out. But you do see moves like that. But that one was rare. And that's where I think, I don't know if you even look around the league. Are you stealing anybody from where they are right now? Like, I'll throw this out there. Could you steal Clark Lee from Vanderbilt and get him to come to Arkansas right now?
The OC Colin Klein at Texas A&M. He won back-to-back Big 12 championships with K-State. Has A&M undefeated, young coach. Kind of inventive on all. Dow Loggins at App State. Has he not been a head coach long enough for you?
I wonder of the idea of somebody, because I do think that the Arkansas job is risky compared to some other SEC jobs. But you could look at it the same way. Arkansas has had more success in the SEC than Indiana had in the Big Ten before Cignetti arrived on the scene there. Sure. And Indiana, Matt, and Alyssa, the path
to the college football playoffs is easier at Indiana.
It is, but they've still been in that league for, over 100 years. So they've still really been bad in that league. And, now they're not. And to me, that's a place where coaching careers went to die for decades. That's what Indiana was. You don't have to be that. Arkansas does not have to be that. I guess that's a matter of the money involved in it. Because Cignetti, I don't know if it's a matter if he was not going to take that job if money wasn't thrown at it, or if money was thrown at it after he took the job and showed that he could win. But that's a program that's thrown a ton of money into football. It seems that's also what's going to what it will take here.
Yeah, and look at SMU, right? Not that SMU has always had money, but they definitely now have woken up and said, okay, we are going to invest specifically in this football program with Rhett Lashley. We're going to give you what you need from an NIL perspective, and we're going to set you up for success. And now you've also got a path, which is a lot easier than being in the SEC, to the college football playoffs. So the Rhett Lashley conversation comes into play. I think it's the exact same thing. You look at Texas Tech. Texas Tech, when's the last time they really did anything big in the Big 12? Well, right now they've got a donor who's throwing millions of dollars into their NIL program and setting them up to be able to have success for football and bring in the pieces that they need to have a successful football program. That's what you need right now. I know we want to sit here and say it might be about the guy leading the program, and it is to a degree, but you also have to have money in this sport right now, and that is the biggest difference.
How much does it matter? So you bring up Rhett Lashley and that Dallas and that recruiting bed and having a relationship with high school coaches. What about the Georgia Tech coach that has Georgia Tech on fire? Mm-hmm. And you think about that Atlanta recruiting bed, being able to have a relationship and pluck a couple guys. Does something like that pique your interest?
Yeah, I think that's a really great possibility. I think you have a conversation. I think you have a conversation, engage interest to see if there is another Power 4 school outside of the SEC who is interested in an SEC job. And, you look at Brent Key and what he's done at Georgia Tech and turning things around, and he's got that energy that I think would play really well at Arkansas. He's kind of got that fiery, in your face, excited, not going to take it, not going to bow down to the big boys kind of mentality. And that's what Arkansas wants. And that's the kind of mentality you need. So I would see if you could gauge some interest around the rest of the conferences. If there's anyone who's having some success and hey, would you be interested in coming to the SEC? What would it take? What would it look like?
Alyssa, before you go, I want to give you a chance to tell listeners what they will find on the Varsity Vibe newsletter now that we're right into high school football, and it's not just the podcast. There's other aspects of Varsity Vibe.
Yeah, so the newsletter you're going to get twice a week in your inbox. It's just going to be a quick thing of hey, here's just the latest things happening right now in high school sports. Right now, football is obviously big, but our female athlete of the week right now is Lily Brashears, who is a cross-country runner for Rogers. She's one of the best in the nation, not just in the state of Arkansas. And so trying to highlight athletes in sports other than football, too. That's going to be in the newsletter. But also our social media. The thing that we're doing differently on Friday nights is you're getting behind-the-scenes access. You're getting coaches mic'd up. You're getting halftime speeches. If you haven't seen Brian Pratt, who's the head coach at Bentonville West, his halftime speech on Friday night against Fayetteville, go check it out. It'll hype you up. It's the kind of speech Arkansas needed at halftime against Notre Dame. That's the kind of stuff you're going to get from us on social media that you're not going to get anywhere else. So it's pretty exciting as we continue to build this thing.
Well, cool. I'm looking for new sound bites for a halftime open since we had to make some changes over the last couple of days. So I might look that one up.
Go get that, Phil. You have my permission to use it.
You don't always win your first bet. That's why MyBookie has you covered. Use our code HOGS, HOGS, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If your pick doesn't hit, you get it right back with our Bet Back bonus. Go to mybookie.ag and use the code HOGS to claim your Bet Back bonus. MyBookie's where bettors win together because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. And your first bet is fully covered. Use our code HOGS.
Must opt in during the bet to use the Bet Back bonus.